Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Navarra. It's the qualifying race for the third round of the 2012 FIA GT1 World Championship. And as I say, it's a dusk setting here, and that should provide us with a spectacular view for what will be a 1 hour race. We've already had some drama. The second place car joining the front row Writer Engineering car has already been pushed to the exit of the pit lane. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me here in the commentary box is John Watson. So the qualifying race for the third round of the championship about to get underway. It's going to be the Raging Bull just south of Pamplona that is on pole position. It's going to be alone on the front row, Darrell Young. The second row is Nicky Melnoff and Mike Parisi. We wait for the lights to go green. Very, very tidy formation here from GT1, and away we go. Stunning start from the Ford GT, cutting to the inside line immediately. Darrell Young has struggled. Mike Parisi's coming up on the outside in the Porsche, but the Ford GT is going to take the lead, is it, as they all try and squeeze their way through turns 1 and 2. Parisi holds it. There's contact. They both get out of shape. The McLaren is through. Up the inside, Alvaro Parente leads this race. Somehow, the Lamborghini has managed to recover up into second place. What an action-packed first couple of corners. Big winner was the Porsche, one of the Mercedes being pushed wide. What a storming start from the Ford GT.
Did nobody tell these guys this is an hour-long race? That was just aggression. But Milos Pavlovich, there you can see the Ford just ahead now of the Audi, and he was very aggressive, very forceful indeed, trying to put us the Ford up the inside. But he got a stunning start. Two Audis side by side. We saw Frank Stippler talking about driving within the same team, and Stippler and the sister Audi side by side, banging door handles into turn 8.
And they of course collided last time out at Zolder. Sending one up the inside there is the number 3 car of Philippe Salaquadra. He's battling hard with Nicky Melnoff. Melnoff has the inside line. Salaquadra will send it up the inside into the left-hander at turn 11. Melnoff gives him racing room and manages to hang it on around the outside. Surely he can't do it again into the next left-hander. Yes, he can. He's going out off the racing circuit. That's going to be an interesting one for the stewards to discuss. Milos Pavlovich still looking racy in there as well. Good start from Marcus Winkelhock, actually. He's climbed well up the field after a difficult qualifying for the Allengel.com Munich Motorsports Mercedes. But Nicky Melnoff is backing the field up. This is allowing the race leaders to absolutely sprint clear. So, across the line they come. McLaren leads in Alvaro Parente. Second is Darrell Young. It's everyone else for third position. The Ford GT is having to fend off the attack from the Mercedes.
I know it's not, it's just taking the attack. It's past both of them. It's trying to go round again. The Mercedes coming up the inside into turn 1. And Pavlovich, it seems that the Ford GT has had a resurgence, not on just in handling, but in straight line performance. It just pulled out alongside the two SLS Mercedes-Benz and passed them as if they weren't there. McLaren running very wide on the outside of turn 4.
Oh, one of the Porsches on the inside line. That looked like it was Dino Lunardi being forced onto the grass. He manages to survive. Great start from Steph Dusseldorf up into 11th place in that second Hexus McLaren. So we've got McLaren leading McLaren in 11th position. We go on board. Look at this brilliant view. On board with Marcus Winkelhock, looking back at Thomas Jaeger. He's flashing his lights at him saying, I'm quicker than you, teammate. Why don't you let me pass? But I'd be surprised if Marcus yields to that threat. This is one of the best views that I have ever seen in motor racing, because you have just got him. Oh, he's gone a little bit wide there. No, just differing lines into turn 1 through turn 2 as well.
Yeah, I think that there was just an option of taking a late entry or an early entry into turn 2, and that was just to try and get track position.
Out of the final corner they come, and one of those Mercedes, Marcus Winkelhock, not coping with that corner very well, and that allows the Porsche to get alongside. We know the Porsche is strong in a straight line, and Mike Parisi moves up into 7th position. He's having to go defensive now because we're on board with Steph Dusseldorf, who also has got past the Mercedes, so 2 positions lost, all from an error at the final corner from Marcus Winkelhock. Is he going to send one up the inside into turn 3? No, he's not. So that moves Parisi and the Porsche up to 7th, and Dusseldorf in the McLaren up to 8th.
Watch Steph Dusseldorf coming down into turn 5. He's not going to make it past there. He may think about going up the inside into turn 6. Exactly, that's what I was about to say. I thought that the McLaren might find a slot up the inside. More grip than the Porsche, and fundamentally a more competitive car. And that's what Steph Dusseldorf did. It was aided by the fact that Mike Parisi got a little bit out of shape, but that's what I was waiting to see happen. Yep. Thank you very much. That was a good job, Steph Dusseldorf.
Here comes Yama Berman sending one up the inside of Enzo Eid. Eid gets the cutback, and Yelmer really needed to get the car stopped in time a little bit. Cars 8 and 24, so that's Dino Lenardi and Albert von Taxis are under investigation for the start. There was quite a heated debate actually in the driver's briefing.
Look at the Ford, the way the Ford left out to the right. Unbelievable start from Pavlovich.
Yeah, he got to the inside line very, very quickly when the lights went green, and then, well, he was just over-optimistic, really. I don't think he was alongside Parisi, and then there was a bit of contact, actually, between Young and Pavlovich as he tried to come back, but all safely through turn 3, which was good to see. This is looking back, I think, from Mike Parisi, so we're going to see. Oh, this will be a great view, actually, because the Ford is there on the inside. He's still going to try and stick it up the inside into turn 2. There's going to be a bit of contact. There it is. Parisi does well to hold it, really.
If you ever want an example of winning a race in the first corner or losing a race in the first corner, that's about it. Nevertheless, back is that McLaren got ahead of the...
Yes, so that means that Steph Dusseldorf has got past Thomas Jaeger then and is up into 6th position from the back of the grid. Good work indeed from the McLaren.
Bodywork on the McLaren is detaching. The left front part of the bodywork has detached from the McLaren.
But here he comes looking to the inside on the run down into turn 1. There's nothing between them. He's now got the overlap. We go on board and into turn 1. Steph Dusseldorf is going to move up into 5th position. Ferrari versus McLaren. This is what we've wanted to see. We're on board with the McLaren. He's on the outside on the run down into turn 1. He's going to try and stick it around the outside, and he's done it. Fantastic stuff. There's nothing Philippe Salaquada could do about that. But what a great move from Steph Dusseldorf. That was bravery. Ford goes wide, and he's lost 2. Oh, that's a real shame. That is... Oh, yeah, no, it's a definite problem for the Ford GT. Well, here we go. Steph Dusseldorf's got a great run on the Lamborghini. He looks to the inside. Lamborghini comes across, but Daryl Young doesn't cover the move in time, and Steph Dusseldorf glides through up the inside. McLaren first, McLaren second. Peter Cox shakes his head.
Daryl Young was never going to put a hard move on Steph Dusseldorf. It's not within the nature of the driver.
Whoa, they're streaming into the pits then at the earliest possible opportunity. There you can see Matthias Lauda is going to be taking over that BMW.
Oh, and look at that. He's unhappy. He's unhappy.
Not well. They've lost a lot of places. They came into the pits in a net 4th place, wasn't it? But they're now behind.
Ferrari pit stop. What's going on there?
They're now behind the Ferrari. They're now behind the Lamborghini, as we saw. So that is not a good pit stop. Into the pits comes Steph Dusseldorf. He's going to be handing over to Fred Makovicky, and I expect Fred Makovicky to be something close to rapid in this McLaren when he gets in it. So we've got a couple of cars in the pits, as you can see. Out of the pits goes Fred Makovicky then, who was taken over. This might work out for Mike Parisi, because all of a sudden he's got some clear air, and he may be able to use that clear air to leapfrog the Mercedes. The problem Mullner have, who are running the Exton Bank Team China, is they're used to endurance racing, so their pit stops aren't necessarily as slick as those of Audi or Hexis. And well, here comes one of the Audis down the pit lane. Let's see where he comes out. All of this actually has promoted the 37 car of Nicky Pastorelli. He's now in front of Peter Cox, so I'm not quite sure. Finally, Yelmer Berman is through, up the inside, getting past the 33 car of Frank Stippler, and Yelmer Berman, the move he's been trying to make for the first half an hour of this race, has finally come off, and he'll probably come into the pits in a minute.
He's got 5.5 minutes in which he can stay legitimately out on track. And Oliver doing the job of traffic cop.
So it's all gone a bit quiet here on the pit straight, because the main pack are going to be coming towards us shortly, as into the pits comes Albert von Taxis, the handover to Thomas Enger. This is looking like a fairly slick pit stop. There's the drive-through, or is that the drive-through penalty? No, it is the changeover now. Albert von Taxis to Thomas Enger. So across the line then comes our net second place car, which is the McLaren. Out goes the Audi. This might work out pretty well actually for the Audi, because if we look at the start-finish straight, roaring through is Mark Basseng. So I think Mark Basseng is now in a net 3rd place. Net 4th is going to be his teammate, who's coming under pressure. Then 5th place is going to be Peter Cox. 6th is going to be this Ferrari, and it's 7th place. I think we'll have to wait till it all shakes out, but that'll be my prediction. 7th place for Oliver Jarvis, although we've still got Mike Parisi and Yelmer Berman to pit as well. So when the pit stop window is fully closed, we'll give you a full rundown of exactly what's going on. Here comes the Lamborghini then, attacking to the outside. Nicky Pastorelli, the 29-year-old from The Hague in the Netherlands, is going very defensive towards the inside. The Mercedes has been a bit dodgy through there. Sparks flying as the car bottoms out on the inside curb. Surely the cutback here for Peter Cox can't quite get it through enough, but what a great battle.
The lead car is now in.
So, Alvaro Parente handing over to Gregoire de Moustier. There you can see Parente with his Portuguese colours on his helmet. And this kind of lap times from Fred Makovic could well see him. I don't think he's quite going to have the pace to leapfrog him, but he's certainly going to have closed in. Surely, allez is the shout from the Hexes team.
Did they change only on the left side tyre?
I think they changed all the tyres. I'm not. It may have just been the angle we saw at. Also in, Mike Parisi handing over to Matt Halliday. That's going to be very interesting to see where they come out. I tell you what, there is Fred Makovic then, and he exits the final corner now. So there is the gap between our two race leaders, the two McLarens. And Makovic on this lap comes across the line. 1 minute 38.7 last time, 1 minute 38.7 again. That's the consistency of a driver like Fred Makovic. He has only got 5 or 6 seconds to close in. It's been a decent stint from Jelmer Berman as he comes into the pits, and he has his last lap was a 40.2, so he's had some decent pace actually, Jelmer Berman. This could be a good effort for them as they change all 4 tyres. McLaren is just coming out of the final corner, so it's not going to be first or second for the BMW, but he's going to be in the mix for kind of 4th, 5th and 6th places, I'd have thought. He comes down the pit lane, so he's in 3rd place. He might be able to hang on to this 3rd position, you know, because I can't see anyone coming out of the final corner just yet. There's the Mercedes. Marc Basseng, he's going to be on it with hot tyres. This is going to be pretty close, but whatever happens, this has been a storming drive. Out of the pits he comes, and he's not going to hold it. Basseng, or is he?
Oh, he is.
It's going to be very, very close,
no, he's
isn't
going
it?
to make it.
But Basseng will have the speed. Basseng will have the speed. Into here he goes, outside of turn 2. The Mercedes have been struggling here all weekend, and Berman has just about held on for the time being.
Well, Michael Bartels might be holding on as well.
Yes, Michael Bartels, sorry, who has, of course, just taken over that BMW. But here comes the battle again. Peter Cox wider on the entry every time. I don't know whether it's Pastorelli going defensive, but he never gets a very good drive out. He's going to squeeze Peter Cox against the pit wall, side by side on the run down into turn 1, and they're pretty much matched for straight line speed, but Peter Cox is going to have track position. Pastorelli might try and be brave, or he might try and get the cutback. Let's see as he comes into turn 2. He's not going to be close enough, so Peter Cox, good move, got the best exit out of the final corner, and he's up into 5th place.
And you can see the drive that Peter Cox got off turn 15. He just mothered the Mercedes in terms of acceleration, that initial acceleration.
Across the line, though, comes Tony Verlander in that red A, of course, of Ferrari. We go on board with him as he chases down the Alinkel.com Munich Motorsports Mercedes. I thought he might fancy a look here because we know the Mercedes is very, very difficult to drive through that turns 1 and 2 and 3 complex. Gets the cutback to the inside. This is going to be a brave one if he sends it up the inside. Oh, I think Nicky Pastorelli saw him coming.
Pastorelli had to run wide. I mean, there was never an objective, or whatever you want to describe it, overtaking opportunity. But you can see again in turn 2 into turn 3. Makovic is the quicker of the 2 drivers in these McLarens. Again, it's going to be either a very simple pass.
So into the left-hander at turn 5 they come.
I mean, just asking the question is, why is Fred Makovic quicker? He just fundamentally is a quicker driver. He just has got more ability. He understands motor racing more. He brakes there. You can see him marginally later. He gets on the throttle certainly as quick as the lead car does. The lead car is pulling over to the right. Whether it's in defence or it's saying, look, I don't want the pressure. Let me go there. Well,
yeah, so
that wasn't a pass. That was a gift.
Through into the lead of the race.
Maybe it's Fred Makavic's birthday today, or maybe it's Steph Justin's birthday. That was a gift.
Now you can see the Lamborghini starting to get closer. The bull run is on down into turn 1. He looks to the outside.
Yeah,
is he going to be able to stick it around the outside? No, he's not. Cut back into turn 3 is the possibility. Not quite yet. On board again we go with Marc Basseng. He's got out of shape. Is this going to be the chance for the Lamborghini up the inside into turn 6? Peter Cox sends it up the inside, almost contact, but he's through, up into 4th position.
There's nothing almost about it. There was. I mean, it was very light contact, but nonetheless. But that's motor racing. I've got no problem with that because the error came from Basseng, and he offered up the opportunity to Peter Cox, and he tried to shut the door, but he tried to shut it when it was too late as a consequence of that very, very small little error.
So that means that up into 4th place goes the Lamborghini Gallardo of Peter Cox. The Mercedes are now running 5th and 6th in the hands of Marc Basseng and Nicky Pastorelli. Does Darrell Young look pleased? Yes, he does.
Oh, side by side.
Oh, this
Lauda
is
trying to get past Tony Villander, and Lauda using the opportunity that has been offered up to him, and that's all. And look how far back Villander has fallen from Nicky Pastorelli.
What is this, a 5-way train, isn't it? Over 7th position, so crucial positions for qualifying. Late move from Stefano Ortelli. Nearly got the clout in on Oliver Jarvis again. That could compromise. Well,
and now Halliday's got the benefit of all that. Yep, he's got ahead of Ortelli on the run out of turn 15.
But watch Oliver Jarvis. Is he going to attack Matthias Lauda into the first corner? No, he didn't quite get as good a run as I thought he may have done. Into turn 1 they come. The gap between 3rd and 4th is now down to just 1 second with 6 minutes to go. So it's halved in the space of 2 laps.
As they say in tennis. Or golf. Or whatever.
Motor racing today. So
somebody's had a massive, they've taken a load of dust, dirt on the inside of the track. It's been cast across the exit of turn 4, but look into turn 7.
That's where Lauda tried to get the job done last time. Villander covered it, and he is absolutely driving that car like a bus, isn't he? He's using all his experience to stop Lauda getting the overlap. Here it comes, up the inside.
But Jarvis is the winner.
He's going to take them both.
The winner.
3 abreast on the run down the back straight. There's not enough room for Villander to get onto the circuit. Their tyres are interlocked. The smoke comes up. 3 wide going down into the hairpin. A little bit of contact. I don't think Jarvis knew Villander was on the outside. Matt Halliday tries to force his way through on the inside. He gets past Villander. Matthias Lauda is the big winner. He has that 7th place.
And look at Halliday as well, trying to find a way around that. Jarvis, I mean, it's just madness. That and Tony Villander, he's trying to come back. There's been so much contact. I mean, this is like come dancing.
Look at this. I mean, this is what I mean. Only Lauda knew that I think there were 3 abreast, because look, Jarvis starts to come across not knowing that Villander's there.
Absolutely, and of course Matt Halliday's watching all this thing and lovely jubbly, bring it on. And again, it's Lauda who comes out of this a winner. He's the one that, of the 4 cars, makes the break out of turn 9 and has the consolidation into turn 10. There we see the battle still going on. Oliver Jarvis trying all he can. Oh, I beg your pardon, Ortelli as it is. That's Matt Halliday.
Yeah, so all of a sudden Ortelli...
Halliday's going to get the run. Is he going to get the run out of turn 13? No, he wasn't sufficiently far up. But the Porsche may well yet put Stefano Ortelli's race into jeopardy. Ortelli currently in 11th place.
Yeah, so...
In fact, he's in 10th place because Halliday was 10th going across the line the last time. So somewhere or other, Ortelli has got ahead of Matt Halliday. Yeah, one lap ago was the opposite way around.
Here we're seeing Villander. And there's going to be a bit of a kiss.
Well, that's where the damage to the Porsche came from.
And this is where Ortelli
got through.
Right,
into turn 11.
Okay, so that must have either taken place on the screen whilst I was looking at my notes, or we did. Well, it's all kicking off again. So now Stefano Ortelli has managed to get past Tony Villander and is now up into 9th position. Now, can Matt Halliday make his way past the AF Corsa Ferrari as well? That's going to be the interesting thing to see. Fred McAvicky through the left-hander at turn 12, then up towards the right-hander at turn 13, the hairpin. This car was fairly new. It's new to GT1 this year, but the McLaren MP412C looks like it's finally going to win a race. It's struggled so far this year in GT1. It's had its issues in other endurance series, but Fred McAvicky turns through turn 15, the final corner here at Navarra. The qualifying race win is going to go the way of Hex's McLaren. Hex is his first win since last season. Fred McAvicky takes the checker flag with Steph Dusseldorf from the back of the grid. Second place going the way of Gregoire de Moustier and Alvaro Parente. Fantastic stuff.
And it's the first time a McLaren race car outside of a Grand Prix car has won an international FIA World Championship event since the days of the McLaren F1 LMs that raced in the early 90s at Le Mans and other great sports car races.
Third place goes the way of Jelmer Berman and Michael Bartels. They seem satisfied with that. Fourth, Peter Cox and Darrell O'Young after starting on pole, perhaps a bit of disappointment. First win for Hexis in GT1 since the championship race at the Sachsenring last year. That was round 4 of the championship. They went on to win the constructors' title, but not very often did they taste success on the top step of the podium.
No, and I mean, a great job by the whole Hexis team. They have really, really worked tirelessly. And also, I'd say, welcome to Philippe Demar and the entire Hexis team to the McLaren Family Club. That is a club of winning drivers and team members.
Let's hear from our race winners, Fred McAvicky and Steph Dusseldorper with Haley.
Congratulations, Fred. Finally a win for you.
Yeah, it's fantastic for the team. They work really, really hard, and it's fantastic after the difficult qualify. My teammate did an amazing job during the stint, and we're coming back, and fantastic, really fantastic.
And Steph, what a stint by yourself. It's so exciting to watch. How is it for you racing on the track today?
Really fun. Yeah, what Fred said, we had some problems in qualifying, but we knew we had the speed, and I had a good start. We just had to be safe and not push too much, and I survived the first 2 laps, and after it was just easy going, and yeah, it was really, really fun, and I'm really happy with the result. We worked really hard, and I'm happy we could make the first GT1 World victory for McLaren.
Let's have a look at the results. A McLaren 1-2, Fred McAvicky and Steph Dusseldorp, Gregoire de Moustier and Alvaro Parent. The BMW team completing the podium, Team Vita for One Racing. The Lamborghini Gallardo finishing in 4th place, Peter Cox and Darrell O'Young, as I say. Good driving from them. Mark Bassang and Marcus Fingelhock in 5th, ahead of their teammates Nicky Pastorelli and Thomas Jaeger. They had an action-packed race. Well, an action-packed race goes for the rest of the field and the rest of the names I'm about to read out. Oliver Jarvis just holding off teammate Stefan Ortelli towards the end. Tony Verlander 10th, Halliday 11th. Thomas Enger almost getting back into it. Car number 3 is under investigation, we're being told. That's Tony Verlander. Not 100% sure what that's for, but we'll let you know. Francesco Castellacci in 13th place. Martin and Zuber, disappointing day for the Aston Martins. Not 100% sure what went wrong there because they had the pace, but we'll find out in the aftermath of this race, no doubt. The sun begins to set here at Navarra, and this means that this is the difference in the championship points. We've now got 3 driver pairings on 31 points. Bartels, Halliday and Jaeger's cars all together at the top of the standings. Good afternoon and welcome to the championship race for the 3rd round of this 2012 GT1 season. It's an hour-long championship race where the winning driver will get 25 points towards their championship quest. We're here at the beautiful Navarra circuit in northern Spain.
Temperature's 35 on the track, 23 in the pit lane. Well, down on yesterday, but what we saw yesterday was a little bit of history being made. We saw the 2 Hexis McLaren MP412s dominate, in spite of some setbacks, but dominate the qualifying race in GT1.
And it was their first win in international motorsport for that McLaren MPC 12. Here's a look at the Navarra circuit. It's 15 corners, pretty interesting to overtake on. It depends where you can get a good run on your rival, doesn't it?
Yes, I mean, it's all about taking the parts of the racetrack where you're strong. Primarily, it's easier to get it done up from start finish straight through sector 1 to midway through sector 2. That's at the end of the back straight into turn 9. Thereafter, the racetrack gets quite twiddly and difficult to overtake. You lose momentum very easily.
Let's have a look at the starting grid then. Pole position and the front row lockout for the McLaren GT MP4 12C, Fred McAvicky and Gregoire de Moustier. Then we've got the BMW and the Lamborghini on the second row of the grid. The 2 Mercedes make up row 3. Mark Bassang and Nicky Pastorelli starting those cars. Matthias Lauda and Oliver Jarvis, the first of the 2 Audi R8s, down in 8th position. Disappointment for them. There is the second one, Stefan Ortelli. Tony Verlander, first of the Ferraris, in 10th place. 11th for Matt Halliday in the Porsche 911, and Thomas Enger alongside him. Watch for Thomas Enger. I think he could be carving through the field before too long. Francesco Castellacci and Maxime Martin in that Aston Martin. Hopefully the Aston Martins can peel through the field a little bit as well. The second ex-in-bank China Porsche, Benjamin Riesch, and Matteo Cressoni and Milos Pavlovic starting at the back of the grid, which is where they've started most of the races, but it's undeserved this weekend because yesterday they were running as high as kind of 4th, 5th position before engine troubles forced them out of the race. So 2x2 formation. This camera will give us some cracking views throughout the race, and now it's going to be the two McLarens on the front row of the grid, Lamborghini and BMW on row 2 as they come through the final corner. The third round of the 2012 FIA GT1 World Championship about to get underway. It's the two McLarens locking out the front row, BMW and Lamborghini on the second row of the grid. Very neat 2x2 formation as they exit. This 1 hour race will be underway when the lights go green here at Navarra. There we go, away we go, and it's a very good start from Marc Bassin, cutting to the inside immediately. He moves up into 3rd position. If anything, it's Gregoire de Moustier who's got the best start going down into turn 1. We look back on board from Marc Bassin as everyone jostles for position. Turn 1 is flat out in normal racing conditions, but it's the two McLarens who have got away. Fred Makovicky ahead of Gregoire de Moustier, then it's 3rd and 4th for the two Mercedes. The BMW has been shuffled down a little bit. We're all safely through turn 3. On board we go then with the 18 car of Michael Bartels, who's actually got a pretty poor start. I think he's back behind his teammate. I thought we might have had a spinner there, but it was just people running wide. Perfect start for the McLarens.
Yes, it was almost very close in turn 3. One of the Mercedes got right under the rear of the second of the two McLarens, but there was no contact. They're both all cleanly through, and right now it's McLaren, and looks like Villander has made his way up into 3rd place.
So we're on board with Michael Bartels. He has now dropped behind Matthias Lauda as they exit down the main straight for the first time. You can see the crowd on the left-hand side watching to see who will be making a move under braking. Bartels thinking about looking up the inside, but he needs to be careful because he's got Thomas Enger right up behind him. Side by side between Matteo Cressoni and Matt Halliday in the number 9 Porsche. Good start from Cressoni from the back of the grid. He's moved up considerably. There is Thomas Enger trying to go around the outside of Tony Villander. That'll be a brave one. Contact between the pair of them. They both run wide but survive for the time being. It's Peter Cox actually. So Peter Cox has dropped a long way back. That's a real shame. We didn't see what happened to the Lambo at the start, but he's been seriously shuffled back.
Yeah,
and there's one of the other Lambos. Yes. That must be Enger facing the wrong way. So not a good start for the Bulls.
No, indeed, and the contact that we saw there with the 25 car, that could easily lead to a flat tire. We don't know. We don't think there was any obvious signs of damage.
Slowing Michael Bartels across the line. Michael Bartels in the 18 car just disappearing under the bridge has slowed, and he's lost a lot of positions now, and I fear that maybe he's managed to find some pace again, hasn't he? So that's a bit of a strange one. He definitely lost the speed, and he's lost the back end as well. Must be a problem somewhere with the car just to the right of shot. Michael Bartels spins, so...
Well, I suspect the two things are not disconnected. Whatever caused the car to lose pace down the straight may well have had a bearing on why that car spun. It would be unusual in these circumstances to see Michael Bartels lose the car when not under pressure.
Across the line they come. This is ultimately the battle over 11th position.
Halliday.
Here comes the Porsche. Halliday up the inside into turn 1. Superior straight line speed, superior exit, and he takes that 11th position. And Francesco
Cressoni gets into trouble.
Yeah.
And he's lost 2 places already and may well lose a 3rd, because as he goes off the track, he'll pick up loads of rubbish on the tyres, forces the Ferrari to back out of it, and the second of the two Astons, just out of sympathy, decides to run wide off the track also.
Halliday side by side with Oliver Jarvis and is through past Oliver Jarvis up into 9th place. So Oliver Jarvis thinks about getting the cutback, but not close enough. So we're on board with Matt Halliday as he tries to hunt down the Aston Martin. He's managed to close in pretty quickly to the tune of about 0.3 of a second per lap. So it's not going to be long before Matt Halliday is seriously starting to make some moves. A little bit of opposite lock necessary as he comes under braking for turn 6. Feathers the throttle through the right-hander at 7, down into 8. Let's see how, well, there's Mike Parisi getting all suited and booted, ready to take over.
Well, Mathieu Martin had to go out to the right because he sensed that the Porsche of Matt Halliday was in a challenging position. We know that the Porsche has got good straight line speed. The back straight here in Navarro isn't as long as the front straight, the pit straight is. Nevertheless, it offers an opportunity for a car to get alongside into turn 9, and if you're the car that makes the move and down the inside, well, then it's going to be your corner.
Alvaro Parente limbers up
Well, he's going to be in that car because the pit lane is going to open up in 20 seconds. And it's going to be very close to these cars. I think Parent's car, the car driven by Demussier, look down the inside. The Porsche gets it done, does he? He can maintain it, yes, past the Aston Martin.
But Martin will have the inside line for the next left-hander, but Matt Halliday has made the move stick, so the pit stop window is open. The teams can now come in and change their drivers if they require. Mark Basseng very proudly told me earlier that his team had the quickest pit stops of anyone in yesterday's qualifying race, 1.2 seconds quicker than any other team. And here we can see why. Into the pits comes, that was number 8, that was Benjamin Lariche, so it must have been just a spin or something, and he's going to hand over to Dino Lenardi. Into the pits then comes our second place car of Gregoire Demussier. Also in comes the Alincol.com Munich Motorsports Mercedes of Nicky Pastorelli. So this could be a straight pit lane battle, because if Alincol can put in another good stop and be 1 to 2 seconds quicker, they might be able to take this second position here. So we are watching.
I want to see whether anybody's got a set of fresh tyres. There's used tyres going on to the Mercedes. We didn't get a glimpse of the Hexus team to see whether that car had a fresh set of tyres for Alvaro Parent. Well, the car's just come off the jacks. Hard to tell. Well, that's
it's
that's
not
been
starting.
One of the bugbears.
There he goes. Is he going to get out in time? Here comes the McLaren down the pits, and the Mercedes has made it, has it? Yes, they have leapfrogged the Hexus Racing McLaren. So Thomas Jaeger is now ahead of the Hexus of Alvaro Parente. Out of the pits they come, and the second Alincol car is going to leapfrog them too. Here comes Mark Basseng, Marcus Winkelhock, I should say, down the pit straight. He moves up into a net second place, net third for that Mercedes, and is now 4th position. Net, we'll have to wait until the pit stops sort themselves out, but that Hexus McLaren has lost at least 2 positions. Congratulations around the team. As I say, Basseng was pretty proud of his pit crew yesterday. Oh no, one of the Aston Martins cruising down the pit wall. That's Max Martin.
There's a pass coming into turn 2.
Yes, this is just coming out of the pits then, and the BMW has not quite been able to get past the Mercedes. But here is the pit stop for Thomas Enger, handing over to Albert von Turnen Taxis, who negotiates his very lengthy figure into the car, and he will take over from Thomas Enger. They've pitted from 4th position. Not quite sure where they'll come out. Bit of a problem on the front left though, unfortunately.
A bigger problem on the rear, the bodywork. I mean, how that's going to be allowed to go back on track with the bodywork in that condition, I'm not certain.
This is a lot of time lost. The front left not being compliant by any stretch of the imagination. But here's Steph Dusseldorp then, about to take over from Fred Makovicky. I'm expecting them to come out in a comfortable lead if all goes to plan with the pit stop. And as you say, the starting system on the McLaren is one of the biggest problems they've had.
It's been a problem. Hopefully it's a problem they've rectified. Certainly it seemed to work perfectly yesterday evening. But we saw that when Alvaro Parente went into the car, it was a couple of seconds before the engine actually fired up. You could hear the engine being spun over. And it has been one of the areas where McLaren have been working tirelessly again to get the kind of performance that they expect to deliver. And let's listen again. It's still grinding. You hear this car, they're still working in the right rear, that's why.
Yeah, so is that
a problem on the right rear?
No, there's a problem somewhere. So, Steph Dusseldorp, race leader, is having troubles. This could give the lead to the 2 Munich Motorsports. Alincol.com Mercedes, no, away he goes, so they've got it sorted, but
he had a 17 to 18 second advantage prior to the pit stops over the rest of the field. He's going to get out. He's lost a lot of time to these 2 Mercedes, and he will get out ahead of them, I believe, although they were at the beginning of the pit lane. There we see the McLaren exiting the pit lane now on full throttle as the 2 Mercedes and the BMW and whatever is behind that, I can't work it out, make their way up into turn 2.
Yes, so McLaren leads, Mercedes 2nd and 3rd, BMW 4th, McLaren in 5th place, and this is Alvaro Parente trying to attack and make his way past. He's got to get past 3 cars if he wants to finish where he qualified, so it's a real...
The McLaren's going to be all over the BMW coming down the hill into turn 5, looking to get up inside of the car. With not enough room, he's going to force the issue. It may mean contact, but he can hold the tighter line. The McLaren, look, the car's just driven right under the BMW, indicating where this car is in terms of its, not only its performance today, but its potential for the future.
As they come through the right-hander, Mike Parisi, we're watching he's lost out, hasn't he? So somewhere Laurens Vanthoor's got past him.
Yeah, we didn't see it actually happening,
no,
but
so
that is the effect
the change of position.
Well,
let's go on board with Laurens. There goes out of shape.
Well, a sudden bit of oversteer for Mike Parisi, and he had literally nothing to do but correct it and end up off the racetrack. And for Laurens Vanthoor, that was a gift that he was grateful to accept.
So it's going to have to be through the corners that Vanthoor is going to make this move.
Laurens Vanthoor has a look down the inside, late in the brakes, gets the car in, could have easily overrun the corner by just being that little bit ambitious on braking, but he's back in the same position he's been in. Enzo Ede is having to be defensive in this part of the racetrack, the final sector, where there really are very few chances to make a move. Again, only dependent on whether somebody is going to make a mistake. Pierre Dudonné. And up the inside, good job, Laurens Vanthoor. But what about the cutback? Enzo Ede tries to do it, but he's on the wrong side of the track. And
rubbing doors as they come towards the final part of the corner. He might have the inside. No, he couldn't quite hang it on around the outside.
Good job. Good job by Laurens Vanthoor. In a part of the racetrack where it's difficult to make a pass, he flashes the headlights as he goes past the pits. He needs to be careful now. The Porsche's going to make a move on Enzo Ede as well. Porsche's got even more straight line speed than the Ferrari has up the hill, and the Ferrari tries. Is he going to get the ball? He's got 2 and 1.
Oh, up the inside goes Mike Parisi. Laurens Vanthoor hangs it in the corner.
Whoa,
and now he's sliding. He's lost it. Parisi comes through. Parisi comes through. Up into 10th position. Vanthoor down into 11th. Enzo Ede tries to dart back to the inside into 4, I should say. Doesn't work, but Mike Parisi will be saying, what just happened there? He just glided past them.
Absolutely, but I mean, there's no surprise at the Porsche straight line speed. We know it's very, very strong indeed. But Enzo Ede really had an opportunity to put the Audi behind him, but Laurens Vanthoor was very forceful, as you would expect from a single-seater race driver in a GT situation. He didn't offer up the Porsche, it was the Ferrari, I beg your pardon. Enzo Ede looked like he was struggling in turn 8. But what a great little bit of motor racing there, all because of this car and its straight line speed.
So we go on board with the number 18 car of Jelmer Berman. You can see how much quicker he's been than his teammate in front as we listen to that fantastic roar of the onboard.
And there we are, Nicky Meyermanhoff pulls over and lets the Jelmer Berman car go through, and good teamwork, because it was recognised by Meyermanhoff that this is the slower of the two cars. Matthias Lauda looking disappointed because he'd done a really strong job in his stint, and then to lose it pit lane and then lose it on the racetrack as well.
And here's Laurens Vanthoor sending one up the inside at turn 13.
And that's where he got the pass on Enzo.
And then here comes the Porsche. Look, we go on board with him. He goes past one, and then all of a sudden he thinks, oh, hang on, I could get 2 of them here. But the Audi pretty impressively actually hangs it on around the outside.
But look what happens. Look at the Audi. It gets up, initially sideways onto the dirty part of the track. No grip. And Mike Parisi says, thank you very much. But watch how Vanthoor comes across, literally across the front of the Ferrari. Enzo Ede must have thought this is his race over.
Alvaro Parent starts the final lap. This has got to be his last chance to try and make a move and to try and get 2 McLarens on the podium. I don't really know where he's going to do it. Here we've got Frank Stippler having a nice little scrap, and Mike Parisi's round. Mike Parisi must, I would suggest, have been given some helping hand from Laurens Vanthoor.
Somebody may have dived down the inside, and we'll hopefully get a review of that one as well as we go back to this battle for the final podium position. And Alvaro Parent close now, coming down into turn 5. He needs to get the McLaren alongside, and no, he has to back out of it. He's not able to maintain the...
has a little late look at the inside,
sort of second breath almost, and sort of thought about it again.
Into turn 13 comes the Hexis number 1 McLaren. Steph Dusseldorp at the wheel. Fred McAvicky took the start. He absolutely rocketed away. Steph Dusseldorp did all the hard work yesterday, went from the back of the grid up to second by the end of his stint in the qualifying race, and he is going to see the checker flag. He's going to see Fred McAvicky hanging over the pit wall, and the checker flag falls in the 3rd round of the GT1 World Championship. The championship race win taken by Hexis McLaren, Dusseldorp and Fred McAvicky. Here comes the 2nd, 3rd and 4th place cars. Lights are flashing for Marcus Fingerlock and Marc Basseng as they cross the line. Absolute delight for Marc Basseng, 2nd and 3rd places. 4th place going the way of the 2nd McLaren. Disappointment there, no doubt. Jelmer Berman across the line for 5th and 6th, the BMWs. There's still a bit of sorting out to do down here. Is this going to be Laurens Vanthoor sending one up the inside into the final corner? He's challenging Philippe Salaquada. Gets the cutback. gets a decent enough drive. We go on board, tries to make it a photo finish. He hasn't got the straight line speed, and he has to settle for what is 10th position in the end, so he gets a solitary point. So pulling into the first place slot for the championship race goes the McLaren. Second on the right there, Mark Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock. Third on the left, you see pulling in Thomas Jaeger and Nicky Pastorelli. Al Inkel took a 1-2 in the championship race last year, a 2-3 this year. Very, very impressive performance from them. The hug between Steph Dusseldorp and Fred McAvicky. Absolute delight between the Frenchman and the Dutchman. Why don't we hear from our race winners, Fred McAvicky and Steph Dusseldorp. They're down in Parc Fermé. Hayley Coxon's got the microphone.
Steph, congratulations. The McLaren is certainly showing its form now.
Yeah, we had again a really good day. Fred did a perfect start and he managed to make a nice gap. It's good he had a nice gap because we had some troubles in the pit stop. Engine is really hard to start in this condition, so yeah, it took some more time, but luckily the gap was big enough to maintain the lead, and then it was just push a few laps and control the race.
Looking positive for the rest of the season now for you, Fred.
Yeah, now we start really the championship for us, and we hope so that we arrive to be really performant on the rest of the season. I'm confident.
Thank you.
Very confident and very smiley, Fred McAvicky. Let's hear from our second place men, Mark Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock.
Mark, you've got to be happy with this result here this weekend.
Yeah, it's unbelievable as a driver, as a team manager. The team did an awesome job at the pit stop. I think that was our advantage to the others. I don't know how Thomas managed to keep Parenti behind him, but second and third is absolutely the maximum we could achieve today.
And Marcus, you certainly weren't expecting this coming into this weekend, were you?
No, not really, especially after the free practice. We were struggling a bit. So I thought it's going to be a really difficult weekend, and for sure I didn't expect a podium. So I'm really happy about the result. I told Mark already, last weekend we had P12 before in the 24-hour race and we won. So I thought P12 in qualifying maybe is not too bad, and it was.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Mark Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock, who won the 24-hour of Nürburgring. Let's hear from our third place men then. Thomas Jaeger and Nicky Pastorelli are down with Hayley Coxon in Parc Fermé.
Congratulations, guys. Thomas, how did you fend off that McLaren?
Yeah, it was really difficult because we were quite slow at the straight, so I had to pay attention, especially in turn one on the brakes, because my rear was really loose. But finally I could make it. Thank you to the team. The car was great. In the free practice it didn't look like we are competitive, and now we are 2 and 3, so it's a great weekend for us.
Nicky, congratulations. Looking at the times going into this race, we didn't think you'd have an advantage over the McLaren, but here you are on the podium.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy about it. I mean, we did a great job for the team. We scored the maximum points we could, being not quick enough, still finishing second and third, thanks to being quickest in the pit stops finally. So really good job from everybody in the team.
Thank you.
Here's a look at the results. Fred McAvicky winning the race alongside Steph Dusseldorp. The two Munich Motorsport Mercedes coming home in second and third. The McLaren of Alvaro Parent and Grégoire de Moustier finishing in fourth. Then it was the two BMW Z4s of Team Vita for One Racing. Michael Bartels finishing ahead of Matthias Lauda and Nicky Melnoff after a little bit of team interchanging. Peter Cox and Darrell Young weren't quite able to capitalise on the advantage of the Lamborghini this weekend. They finished down in 7th place. Then the first of the Audis, Oliver Jarvis and Frank Stippler. The first of the Ferraris as well. I thought the Ferraris would be strong in the dry conditions, but 10th place was only as good as Tony Verlander and Philippe Salaquada could manage. The Aston Martin of Andres Zuber and Sergei Afanasiev finished in 13th place. Albert von Taxis had a drive-through penalty, so ended up in 14th. Dino Lunardi had to recover after a spin from Benjamin Arish. Maxime Martin and Leo Machitsky retired, as did Matteo Cressoni and Milos Pavlovic, despite an impressive weekend. Here come the trophies. Roberto Jimenez, the Vice President of Navarra, hands them the trophies. And the Hexis crew, I can see down in the pit lane, there you can see them at the bottom of the screen, going absolutely berserk after taking the championship win. Here's the championship points. Steph Dusseldorp, Fred McAvicky, Thomas Jaeger and Nicky Pastorelli tied on points at the top of the championship. They're only 4 points clear of Ortelli and Vanthor. They're only 1 point clear of Bartels and Berman. They're only 2 points clear of Mark Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock. It's fantastically close at the top of the standings. Winkelhock is fantastically close at the top of the standings.
Balance of performance.
Alinkel move to the top of the championship now. Hex is Racing finally sorting themselves out up to second place. And we're back in 2 weeks' time in Slovakia Ring. We'll see you then. Thank you very much for joining us.